Hello and welcome everybody. We are live once again. Hello, my name is Susie Gozzi and
My name is Viv Adcock, and we are here to talk about, do our animals get jealous? Are our cats and dogs jealous? So, this is an interesting one because people tend to put a lot of their presumptive realities, they tend to put a lot of human emotions or what we would interpret, watching and body language and whatever else. A lot of people would project and put and assume that is an energy that animals are and be with each other. So where would you like to start this conversation, Susie Godsey?
Well, yes, exactly there. Because, to me, the one thing about animal communication and being aware of animals is that if we try to understand them in the way that we function with our human emotions, sometimes we really put ourselves into a pickle because we try to explain a behavior with words that we would use, like jealousy, and yet it may not be exactly that. And so then when you're trying to change something and you have already labeled it, but the label isn't correct, it's really hard to change it, or sometimes you can't change it because you're working on an area that is not accurately what you're working on. So, and I have asked this question many, many times, but there are some emotions where I'm always like, the energy doesn't seem to be accurate. But so if you were willing now to be completely vulnerable, and I know a lot of you are going to say, yes, my dog is jealous when, for example, I'm trying to kiss my partner and my dog comes up and like goes in between us or nudges us, or or my partner wants to climb in bed with me and then my dog starts growling at him, or my cat will sit on someone's lap when they're trying to, like, whatever. I mean, we have so many situations where we would use the word like, my animal is jealous. But I would like to invite you right now to just really drop your walls and barriers, be vulnerable with all of this. And I'm going to ask you a question and be really honest with yourself right now. And even if it goes against everything that you have already decided, but in that situation, truth, was your animal jealous?
And whichever makes you feel lighter is the truth. And when Susie asks you that question, it's not, I can probably hear all your heads going, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's not a cognitive answer. It's a sense of perceiving the energy rather than trying to come to conclusion about, well, yes, they are, because you've decided they are. It's like you said, Susie, dropping those walls and barriers and becoming energetically present and congruent with what you're asking and the information that you're going to start receiving back. So, this is where I think a lot of people get stuck with animal communication because, like you said earlier, they're translating it into how we communicate. And animals don't speak Spanish, English, Italian, French. They learn our languaging, but they actually have their own energetic way of communicating. So if you're willing to drop your walls and barriers and truly ask that question from curiosity, from wondering, well, is my dog jealous? Is this what this energy is? Or is it something else? This is where you start to develop like the ear, if you like, to start listening to and sensing that energetic communication. And the moment we define something else I wanted to add something you said earlier, the moment we define something, it becomes a limitation. So if you think that you're defining that your dog is jealous, if you define that, you've actually just basically got a Post-it note written on it, jealous, and stuck it to the dog. And you've already concluded and decided that that's what it is. And so when we have that conclusion in place, we don't look at anything else. And what we've done is we've accidentally stuck that label on the dog, which might be inappropriate. It may not be accurate energetically for what the animal is actually trying to communicate and what it's trying to show.
Yeah. And then with all of that, really now, if you're trying to change that behavior, first of all, you already, when you have decided that your animal is jealous, you already have a certain point of view about that. You might be proud, like, oh, my dog is jealous, it's actually like, oh, what an honor. you know my dog is jealous and nobody can come close to me. My dog loves me so much. I mean, there could be that, and that in itself can either work for you or not. And truly, if your animal, all that they do is just kind of come between you and nudge you or whatever, that's one thing. But I have worked with people where the dog was literally growling at the partner coming into bed, and that is a bit dodgy, I would say. To me, that's not a behavior you have to live with. That's not a behavior that you have to tolerate. And and it's also not fun. Like, is it actually really truly fun to have this behavior in that way around you? But if you were to be willing to look at it and go, what is this? You might find out it has nothing to do with jealousy at all, because most likely, folks, I'm going to just break it to you. I have to say, I would make an argument that jealousy in the animal kingdom, in the way that we define it, does not exist. I said it out loud. I said it out loud.
Yeah, I totally wholeheartedly agree, Susie, too. I mean, unfortunately, I think some people enjoy the conflict. It means something to them. If there is, like you were just using that example of, oh, well, the dog's growling at my boyfriend or whatever. It's when somebody takes a little bit of pride in that, or they get a bit of a kick out of it, it actually sends a mixed message to the dog. It sends an incorrect message if you're wanting to have a harmonious pack, because this is the thing, the dog is seeing you and the other people as its pack members. But if it's getting some kind of weird message or weird energetic feedback from you that you're giving it, and look, a lot of the times we're not aware of this, but this is the purpose of this conversation. It's like, if there is somewhere that you're getting a bit of a giggle out of it or a kick out of it, you've got to look at what that could potentially create in the future too, because it's fueling conflict. It's setting something up that you might not want to happen in the future. So, it's an interesting one, because I think a lot of the work that you and I do, Susie, yes, it helps people become more aware of reading energy and being aware of what's going on in the animal kingdom, but it's also a level of self-awareness. You're taking responsibility for your own maybe needs or your own projections or your own desires that you're fueling through your animal, which may not be the healthiest thing. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but again, you've got to look at, what do you desire to create with your animal? What do you desire to create with your animal and other pack members, other people? And if, you want to have harmony and you want to have peace, but you also need to have leadership, a dog listens to you or respects you, or I know we're talking about dogs a lot again today, but, you've got to be willing to have your energy really congruent with what you're communicating and what you're asking and what you're creating for the future as your relationship. And that, that's quite a lot in one sentence, just there.
Truly. And some people might say, well, if it's not jealousy, what is it? And honestly, there is no cut and dry answer for that either, because it really depends on the situation, and you have to be willing to just really be vulnerable with it and ask a question. So what is going on? A lot of times what I have noticed is that it does have to do a little bit with the pack and the way that it is set up, but also also what I have noticed, especially with cats, when they do that behavior that people call jealousy, is that we have also the tendency to funnel our energy to certain situations or to a person even. And so let's say, you are excited about your boyfriend, your girlfriend coming over, your husband coming home, your wife, whatever it might be, and you start funneling your energy, which to animals is like something very unusual. They don't they cannot really deal with that. They don't know what that is when you're pulling your energy out of their universe and you are now focusing that energy on somebody else, basically. Then they go, where are you? And it's almost like they come up to you and go, what's going on here? Like, where are you? Why aren't you with me anymore? And so it's really about broadbanding your energy to them as well. So you can be focusing on your on your partner, but at the same time, can you practice flowing energy still to your animal? And is that going to change something? Like, if you really try that and make an effort to energetically stay present with your animal as you're hugging, as you're kissing, as you're making out, practice that and see if it changes something. Because a lot of times it is really us just going, we're kind of shrinking our energy away from the animals. So
yeah, and it's kind of like, again, it's all about building awareness of, are we including the animal in our interaction energetically, or are we excluding? You know how if you look at a people situation, there's you and your best friend and your partner or your husband or whoever. And when it's you and your best friend, you're really close and you're best buddies and, you do everything together. And then when your partner comes along, you go and spend time with him. But if you're pulling all your energy out of your relationship with your friend and putting it all into your husband, it's like, hang on, I feel really excluded. I feel really left out. And energetically, we can sense that if somebody's actually just kind of cutting us out of that equation. So how do you do this in an inclusive way? Just like Susie was saying, you can be present with the person or the animal that's right in front of you, but have this spherical awareness, if you like. You're still energetically connected to everybody else. So, because I think a lot of people, whether they're, again, aware of it, they make their animal their primary relationship and maybe don't even know it, So, because, and this can work the other way. People can get jealous of your relationship with your animal too. Show the dog, you show the cat more attention, or you say hello to the cat first, or you bring the cat presents and you don't bring me presents, So, and this is the thing about having this inclusive reality. So what can you be that will allow you to expand your inclusive reality that includes you and includes everybody, everything that you desire to have within that arena, within that space would work for you?
Oh yeah, that's actually, Viv, that can change everything in your life, honestly. What Viv just said, if you start to really play with that, would that increase your money flows? Would that increase so many other things in your life? Have you be more present with the projects that are going on in your life and everything, with work, with coworkers, everything. I mean, if you take that alone and play with it, that's huge, and what if actually your animal is inviting you to that with this behavior, and they're showing you, hey, something is weird here, what is going on, and it might really be that they're also unsure about what's going on. They're not coming in to say, hey, stop this, I don't like your partner, stop kissing. No, I can tell you honestly, every time I have been in these kinds of situations, I have yet to meet the animal that says, stop kissing, They're not the sex police, they're not your parents, so no.
I like it. So because you've got dogs and a cat living together, Susie, because I know there's going to be conversations with people, maybe in their heads, maybe we're hearing it right now about, well, what about when you have cats and dogs together, or different animals together? Do they ever get jealous of each other? Is there an energy that goes on between a cat and a dog, say? So you live with 3-4 dogs and a cat. So have you ever seen any of them get jealous of each other?
Well, to be honest, I have truly taken that word out of my animal communication vocabulary. So, do they sometimes have beef with each other? Yes. Do they sometimes basically assert themselves over one another? Yes. Do they sometimes have a thing where, hey, I'm sitting here and now I'm making you move, hence I'm showing you that I'm the boss? Yes. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with how I am with all of that. There are certain things that are very clear in my world. For example, my dog Charlie, he's been there for a long time. I love him dearly. He's my number one, and he gets to sleep on the bed. Now, all the other dogs don't get to sleep on the bed, and it's okay. Like, they have no problem with that because I am so super clear. I don't waver in that. I don't have a problem with it. I don't see it as, oh, I'm pulling favors and you guys, now I have to love you more on the side. No, Charlie gets to sleep on the bed. I enjoy it. That's his spot, and that's just like, yeah, we're doing it that way. Now, Paul, of course, also sleeps on the bed. And I have to say, in the beginning, that was a little bit of an eyebrow raiser for Charlie. Like, what is this cat doing in the bed, And so I had to really kind of go with that one in a way that I wasn't just basically now telling Charlie, like, hey, this is how it is, and you better suck it up. But it was more like, hey, is this okay as a possibility? I would like this. And I'm not just going to go with what you want, but also, can we make this work so that it's actually also an honoring of you? Like, I didn't want to dishonor Charlie with it. And it took a little while. That one did take a little while. So that wasn't the easiest transition because, Charlie definitely also, when Paul came, was like, oh, is he moving into the number one spot? Like, hello, that was not so cool with Charlie. And so I had to really show him that this wasn't about replacing him, but this was an addition to our household. And yes, it meant a lot to me to have Paul. And it did bring in that energy of like, ooh, Paul is my favorite. But it's actually all come to a bit more of a, it's becoming more and more harmonic. And actually, Paul and Charlie now, I would say, have become friends, where in the beginning I wasn't sure that would ever happen. So yeah.
Yeah, great conversation, Susie. And just what you said about, you were super, super, super clear. And I think, again, it's such a journey with self-awareness as to what we desire and what information, what, like you said earlier, what we're broadbanding outwards, because they function from energy. They will read our energy and do their best to accommodate that. So if something's a bit askew, maybe just look at, okay, so what am I actually asking for here? Am I being clear with what I'm asking for? And something that you gave, I think it was last week's or when we did the last session about, are they capable of doing this? Am I asking something that they can actually do? So we've got a question. Liddy's just asked, do animals have hierarchy? So just what you were talking about then with the dogs, I worked with a lady yesterday with 3 horses, and it's interesting because 2 horses have always lived together from when they were foals. These guys are now 15, and she's just bought a 3rd horse in. And it's like the 3 Stooges watching these horses. It's hysterical because the one that's always been boss it's like they're tag teaming. All 3 of them are bossing each other around, and it's like there isn't an ultimate boss now. There is the Palomino, the big horse. He's always been the boss. But the new horse is bossing Palomino around. So it's really interesting watching the 3 of them pushing each other around to try and establish something. And I've never seen that before. Usually for me, when I've seen animals doing hierarchy is, yes, there's always a challenge, animals get older or weaker, and there's a natural attrition within the pecking order, within the hierarchy, that as one horse gets, or one animal gets weaker, or the pack don't think that they're strong enough to lead, there's a natural transition. You see lions fighting each other, or animals in the wild, well, they'll challenge to see if that person is still strong enough, if that animal is still strong enough to be the leader. So, within a domestic situation, so if we look at your dogs, who's top dog? Who would you say is top dog? I know Charlie gets to sleep on the bed, but is he top dog?
Yep.
Yeah.
He is top dog. And also, basically, actually, you misspoke for a second and you said person, but actually you didn't misspeak, because we are part of this hierarchy as well. And you better make sure you are top dog, in all of that. Because if you are really not top dog, sometimes that can also make it really difficult in your situation at home. And some people really refuse to have that role, because it comes with so many points of views, and so many conclusions, and what it means to be top dog. Like, some people would even argue, if you let your dog sleep in your bed, you're no longer top dog. To me, that has never read as true and real. I've never found that to be something that was diminishing my leadership. I think, again, we're talking about energy more than anything else, and that's one of the things too that I think a lot of people are misinterpreting. What is leadership and how do I be a leader? But a lot of it is really just an energy, being willing to be the leader, the steward of your pack, but also be willing to really look for what it is you want to create with your pack, and then enforcing that, and when it's not really coming along, to really be willing to say, hey, stop that, this isn't working for me.
Something else just pinged for me too. I know we've been going for a little while now, but something else just popped for me too, in regards to I've seen when people bring, so I've worked with foster dogs for a while, and I see that when people bring a new dog into, maybe a house with already another dog or 2 or 3 dogs, if that person favors one of the dogs and they try and make that dog the top dog because it's their favorite, the conflict that can create too, because the dogs have their own pecking order that they'll work out in due course. It's just, that's how I see nature works its way out. So, that's the other thing that we can inadvertently do, where we want one of the dogs or our favorite dog. It's like, no, I'm going to make this is the top dog, but it doesn't actually work in regards to the pack as well. So I think being aware of how the natural dynamics work within the pack is also working with what you've got in front of you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important to keep that in your awareness, like Viv is saying. And, we had another question. Somebody was saying, probably a little bit of a joke too, but is there anything wrong with having your animal as your primary relationship? And, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. And to be honest, please, it's your life, you choose. And, I sometimes really in a joke say Charlie is my primary relationship, but in a way it is true. But that is also a choice I have made. Like, I am not looking for a human person partner at the moment. And so to me, my animals are my primary relationship that I'm basically living with and dealing with. And do I really want to call it that? It sort of is this strange thing where, again, we get ourselves into trouble every time we come to conclusion, because then we're really locking out everything else that doesn't match. And so if you have your dog as your relationship and it's working for you right now, please, by all means, it's okay. But have a look at too, are you shutting out other people with that? Are you shutting out possibilities with that? And as long as it's really just a choice, hey, all is good, all is well. So
I've got a very quick, funny little story with that. I've had a client for many years. She'd probably be, 50-ish right now. Anyway, to have a man in her life has been her lifelong target. And of course, because she's made it such a thing, she hasn't been able to create him. She hasn't been able to pull him in. Anyway, I don't know how many sessions we've done on this. And then it eventually came to pass. I went round to her house one day, and she's got this beautiful border collie dog that they've been inseparable since they were kids, basically. And this dog eats, breathes, sleeps, does everything. It is her absolute shadow. So they sleep together, sit together, ride in the car together, go shopping together, do everything together. And I went, I wonder if there's actually space in your life with the dog there. And she's like, well, the dog's always going to be number one, you know, and whoever comes into my life, they have to know that dog's number one. I went, okay, interesting, you know. And so people will give you this information and you'll be able to observe this, I mean, not from any point of view or any judgment, but it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that this was what was going on. And could that possibly be the reason why she hasn't brought a guy in? You know, I mean, I don't know if there would be a guy that would want to play second fiddle to a dog, or, you know, maybe there is. If you're out there, just let me know. If you're watching this, let me know, because I can introduce you.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Anyway, just a little bit of fun to finish the conversation off with.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for listening. And, you know,
Yes.
this, of course, is a little bit of a, you know, introduction to the Access specialty called Talk to the Animals. So if you would like to know a bit more about it, go to talktotheanimals.com. There is information there. We have a different approach than regular animal communication. We have the tools of Access consciousness that are wild and wacky and work. And, you know, and please, you know, if this is intriguing to you, then come and play.
And we've got lots more videos on lots more conversations that you can find as well. So, and there's a fantastic book written by the founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, called Talk to the Animals. So that, if you're interested, that could be a great, it's a book packed full of tools and processes and body work. There's some body processes in there too. So if you'd like to know more, that is a phenomenal handbook for working with any animals. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and for your questions. And Miss Susie, from Australia to Austria, I'll see you same bat time, same bat channel.
Sounds good to me. Thanks, Viv. Bye, everybody.